You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we have more cricket to talk to you about. It's T20 cricket again. It's England v Pakistan again. It's India v South Africa again. But there's a lot of good themes. You know, I'm sounding weary there. I'm not weary. There's a lot of good cricket to talk about. I'm Jack Hope. I like talking about cricket, and I'm joined by Ross. You like talking about cricket?
The 300 episodes says I do like talking about cricket. Yeah, it does. So, yeah, nice to see you, Jack, and welcome to everyone who's watching us on the live stream.
Yeah, welcome. What's your favourite episode that we've done?
Well, we've got to be one of the Christmas specials. Like
Okay.
Maxwell Brown, his lyrical genius is not to be underestimated. And also drinking French 75 cocktails is also good fun.
That was pretty heavy going. What was that 2019 Christmas special? There's a lot of gin consumed on that occasion. Ross, 2 cricket matches we're talking about. We will get to in a moment. In 25 seconds ish, can you say the main thing that you want to tell our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube right now, click the like button, click subscribe, go onto Twitter or Instagram and follow us at the Cricket Pod. If you want to go and get signed up to our Patreon, it's patreon.com/the Cricket Pod and get access to our Discord channel. Welcome to one of the Guerrilla Cricket guys who has signed up this week. Always get a shout out if you sign up. And we are sponsored by the mighty Manscaped, aren't we, Jack?
Yes.
The number one ball shaving apparatus supplier.
We'll talk about more about them later. Ross, we've got a question from Rickon to start things off, and then we'll do our summaries, etc. Who should be more worried, India about their pathetic bowling or Pakistan about their atrocious batting order? So, who are you going to turn the shotgun on first?
Thanks, Rickon. Nothing like trying to build a podcast where you're attracting Pakistani fans and India fans, and the decisive question kicks us off. I think what we saw today was in the Pakistan game is the soft underbelly that can sometimes exist when you have a top order or a top 3 who continuously hit runs for you. And I think sometimes they go in a little bit undercooked. And you can sometimes see it in tournaments more than any others, but I'm not sure it's something to be totally worried about for Pakistan. You're only playing 10 games in a tournament, and actually the way in which Babar and Rizwan craft their innings, the whole team is based around getting 160 to 170. Anything more than that is a plus. So I'm not too worried about their pathetic attempt today. India bowling wise, they've got so many options that you'd think the Rahul Dravid and co could figure it out. So again, it's that's more of a selection thing rather than a talent thing.
Great. So they're both rubbish.
I thought I'd done very nicely to put that diplomatically and sit on the fence there.
Do messages in the chat. That was a question from the chat. If you want, I've changed the settings, Ross. I could have told you this before, but I'm going to tell you this on air. Now only people who subscribe can message us in the chat. So even if people are going to turn up and moan about, whatever we have to say, they have to now contribute to our overall statistics. So it's a good quid pro quo. It's a good quid pro quo. Let's do England first. They came back. They were 3-2 down somehow in this series. What did they do? They then picked the big boy squad and won quite comfortably. Ross, it ends 4-3 to England. I'm not really summarised either of the games. I'm just going to ask you a question. Maybe we'll get into the games. It ends 4-3. Is that a fair reflection of the series?
I think these two teams, it's kind of been the England B+ side for some of them. We're obviously missing Livingston, Butler, and we've rested people throughout. Obviously, Jofra is missing as well. And so I think it is probably a fair reflection based upon what we've seen. I think England's batting has been pretty decent. Again, they're really well balanced. If it was a 10-game series, I think it would be just as close. I think it's two decent teams.
I was expecting to go a different way there. I think this is the biggest hammering of a 4-3 that could have happened. Like, I think Pakistan have been second best by quite a distance and have been reasonably lucky in two of the matches. There was the one where they got 200, wasn't there? Where without losing a wicket, you have to say deserved victory. Then there was the game I'm going to call the Dawson game, where Liam Dawson won the match, and England decided not to finish it off. And then there was the other one where England didn't chase 145, and Pakistan. I don't know if there was so much luck involved in that. Pakistan did bowl quite well, but they still went into the final over England, requiring only 15 runs with Moeen Ali on strike on 49, I think, or 50. And he probably wins that 50% of the time. So
yeah, I do get that, but then at the same time, like, whether it comes down to luck, and we'll come on to this, but Pakistan's fielding has been atrocious. I know it's an indictment of how bad they've been, but it's also like there's an element of luck to fielding. I think
there is an element of luck to fielding, but there's also there is something they could do about dropping the ball on the floor all the time. Like it's not like it's hit his thigh pad and sort of dragged it onto the stumps, is it? It's international cricketers not able to catch the ball like a club cricketer.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that. But at the same time, we mentioned that England had some injuries, people missing. Like Shaheen Afridi being out for this side, and Shadab Khan for quite a few of the games have been big misses, right?
Yeah, that's true. But over the 7 matches, they didn't play, and so therefore I think I'm justified in saying it was a bit of a hammering of a 4-3 win.
Fine. I'm not
you can differ. You can defend Pakistan. I don't mind.
I'm a big Pakistan fan. You know this, and I think we've seen some high quality cricket. We've also seen the downfall of Pakistan's approach sometimes, where they come up against a team like England. I think Pakistan's approach of relatively conservative T20 cricket can work with the players they've got available to them, but England just are a juggernaut sometimes, and you can't control it.
Yeah. Right, how much detail do you want to talk about the 2 England-Pakistan matches? Because there's 2 of them. We can do Friday quite quickly, I think, can't we?
If you want to, I was going to skip right over it.
Well, on Friday, Pakistan played England, as they have done a lot recently. I will say a 7-match series. I've quite enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd want them all to be like this, but I think this particular one, England back in Pakistan for the first time in a long time, I think it deserved a bit more of a bit of amplification. Maybe 5 matches is the perfect T20 series. Not sure. We'll work that out. We'll have to ideas workshop that. Pakistan batted first. They got 169. It was actually reasonably. It seemed like a decent effort. Babar Azam was hitting the ball in the air, hit some sixes. It felt like. But after we'd seen the match the couple of nights before, when 145 proved to be a winning score, it felt like Pakistan might have had enough runs. England got like 90 in the power play, Ross.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough runs. I think
this is the juggernaut that I'm talking about, right? That England's approach to it, and England have been showing far more intent in the power play, which is always great to see because it's more risk, high reward, right? But people were criticising Phil Salt, saying, "Do you know what? He's just not good enough at an international level." Was what I was seeing when he failed, I think twice in a row. But then he comes out and does this, and this is the selfless nature of opening the batting now in short format games. Phil Salt embodies that, and it was I was really really happy for him. And England have got a good selection headache, is fair to say, at the top of the order.
Yeah, 88 in no time at all. Babar Azam 87 or 59. It looked probably better than Phil Salt's 88 or 41, but that's a hell of an innings. Dawid Malan, who was saying that he basically felt like he couldn't bat anymore, got 26 and looked all right, and then he was out LBW to a P-roller. I like that when it happens in international cricket because it makes me feel connected to the game. It's a bit like when it's windy in golf or something like that. Or occasionally when in Europe when a Premier League team has to go away to like Romania and the pitch is terrible and nobody can control the ball. It's like, yes, now I see that we are actually playing the same game. That was the P-roller moment. I wanted to get that in. And Duckett, who's relatively quietly had an excellent series, was there to help Salt finish it off. England won with 5.3 overs to go. it was a real gun show type innings.
Yeah.
Then today, do you want to talk about today? And then we'll talk about themes.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So it's a series decider, tied at 3-3. The World Series, as the Americans would call it.
It was a game 7. It was.
Yeah, it was game 7.
Maybe that is the future of tours. It's 7 matches, but you don't play more than when one team goes 4 up.
Yeah.
Just end it.
Maybe that's it. So, and I said, when to be fair, this is a big tangent. But when the World Cup happened last year, I was kind of talking about saying that when it comes to the semi-finals and final, it shouldn't just be a one-game wins all in a tournament. I know you disagreed with that, but I like having a multi-format to kind of say, because the variance is too high, right? Maybe 3 games in a tournament and then 7 in this. But
when the IPL is 6 months long, I'd agree with you. While it's 2.5 or 3 months. And I think for a World Cup, you do want a World Cup final as well, I think. There's
not 3.
Anyway, that's not a big tangent. When you said big tangent there, I thought we were going to have another Billy the Fish moment. We managed to swerve that. Carry on.
Yeah. And Babar won the toss and stuck England in, backing his turquoise boys. They're no longer green, as far as I'm concerned. This turquoise or teal is what they're wearing. But sadly for him, his awful fielding set the tone for Pakistan. They were hopeless in the field, like absolutely hopeless. He dropped 2 catches, and Pakistan's bowlers, Harris Ralph, impressed. I think it was 4 overs, 0 for 24. But again, England's batsmen was just too much, and Malan in particular, with a very, very timely kind of 80 odd, or 70 odd that he got just ahead of the World Cup, showing why he should be England's number 3. England continued their pro-risk approach. They benefited even with the comedy run out of Salt, who pretty much ran a 2 and just about got out, unfortunately. It was just all a bit too much when Chris Wokes, with his beautiful face and beautiful bowling, got Babar out with a very soft dismissal, and then Topley uprooted Rizwan, and that was game, set, and match.
Yeah, it was. Here's a sort of a broader strategic question. Do you think England? I would flip your pro-risk comment on its head slightly. I think in T20 cricket, not trying to play like England is more of a risk than trying to play like England, and I think in some way that's the narrative of the 4-3 thrashing that I'm trying to push. Disagree or agree?
I can kind of understand your point. I just think that some teams just don't have the team to go for it.
That is true.
And you saw it today with Pakistan's middle order. Like it can't really fire. And people's turning around and saying Asif Ali needs to be facing 25-30 balls. I just don't think he can face 25-30 balls. I don't think he's good enough at an international level to do that.
In fairness, I don't think it is his role either.
And that's what I mean, right? You don't. If Babar and Rizwan don't do that in international cricket, and the Sunrisers fans that we go after in this, that is the trade-off, right? Pakistan don't get to buy Dre Russ. They don't get to bring in Double Brevis. They have to deal with Mohammed Wasim and whoever else.
Shan Masood.
Yeah, and the guy in the middle order, his name is escaping me right now. The other Korsdil, is that his name? Kushtil, yeah. He has had an atrocious series. He's hit 63 runs from that position at a strike rate of 110. That underlines all of it, right? That's why I think that they can't bat like England go for. They just can't risk it.
2 things on Kushtil. Kushtil actually, probably looking at the PSL, is the player that most obviously looks like they could potentially solve some of Pakistan's problems. Mouthful. But actually has reasonable domestic stats. The other thing with Kushtil that I noticed from today's game was that somebody in the crowd had a sign, and it was like Kushtil GOAT, like greatest of all time Kushtil. And I wondered whether maybe GOAT means something different in Pakistan. And like, if people in the chat could let us know whether greatest of all time is what I see when I see
Lionel
GOAT.
Messi.
And we'll talk
Lionel
about
Messi GOAT.
It's in the name of the video if you're watching on YouTube. We'll talk about a potential GOAT, Suryakumar Yadav, in a little, or certainly a GOAT year. Kushtil Shah, I don't think. Well, I know what he's the GOAT at. Like GOAT at representing this current Pakistan middle order problems. He might be the great GOAT at that. Comments. What do you think?
Again, but that's the my argument back, Jack. I think to your comment. What I did like was the whole chat this week, and I don't want to bring it up because I don't think we should talk about it.
Not going to talk about the Mankad, are you?
I'm going to talk about the Mankad.
Okay, let's go.
Because Shadab Khan attempted one on Brook.
Yeah, but he wasn't out, was he?
But I enjoyed that. I really wanted it to happen today.
Did you see the Twitter thread about this?
The Stokes versus Harshal Bogdan.
No. I saw that, but like, there was another one by a guy called Peter Della Penna, who I think is like the CEO of US cricket or something like that. I might have way over promoted him there. Might just be a guy. he's from the US, I think, and he likes cricket.
Right, okay.
And he's been doing really long threads breaking down games. This is a cricket fan all over. I mean, I hope he isn't the CEO of American cricket. This is not what a CEO should be doing. Where Peter Della Penna has been like screenshotting the moment the ball is delivered of loads of what appear to be England games in recent times. And Harry Brook got his own thread of like the 25 times Harry Brook left his crease in his last innings against Pakistan.
Right.
And it was like every single ball that Brook was at the non-striker's end, out of his crease. I guess maybe they both saw the thread. Cricket's quite a small world, and it got a lot of attention. Because Brook was in and Shadab Khan did try the Mankad, so I think that was the backstory there is something to do. Twitter. Jay Slanky says he is a journalist in cricket, so he might not be a CEO. But I'd take the promotion. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. that is fair.
US cricket's going places.
It feels like we should get him on the show to talk Mancads. That's what it feels like.
The Mankad special.
The Mankad special. But again, that you've seen the reaction this week, and I just thought that if an England men's player got done today, it would have blown people's minds, and that would have been one of my favourite moments, I think, doing the podcast.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the actual cricket, Jack, because batting wise, we talked about there being some selection headaches for England.
Indeed.
Out of the people who have opened this series, so Phil Salt, Alex Hales, Will Jacks, you obviously got Butler, who genuinely was in like the Owen Morgan role, wasn't he? He was just like, you know what, I'm kind of injured, but I'm just going to chill on the sidelines. Like, he was in his kit. He could have played.
Yeah, he was running the bib on. He must be running drinks.
The waters out. Yeah, and he's just like, this is me now. I kind of like. Who impressed for you? Are you a Alex Hales buyer, partnering Butler? Or
everyone seems to be saying that Alex Hales is going to be the guy who does actually open the batting for England at the World Cup. I think the narrative that seems to have formed is around like what they have done in the BBL. Now, in my opinion, what people have done in the BBL should be like 10th on, to put it bluntly, have got no chance of being in an international side. In the BBL should be an indicator, a factor, something that helps you get a berth for England. So with that in mind, I'd probably bump Hales down the list and say maybe Salt is the one that goes in with Butler. I like what you say around Salt being selfless, and I think he gels quite well with Butler as well. Butler tends to be quite a slow starter in T20 cricket, and then speeds up a lot, particularly after the power play. And Salt is the other way around, like gets off the mark very quickly. Ross has disappeared. That's no good. I was going to. Ross?
I'm opening my door. I'm opening my door in the faint hope that my internet.
Oh, maybe I'll open my door because my screen is slow anyway. Carry on. Your point.
Yeah, and so what about? So I think Will Jacks was there along for a bit of experience. Is Ben Stokes? Could you see him taking that opening berth for England?
I could see it.
Because Harry Brook's not going anywhere. Like that is my view. Harry Brook at number 5 finishes as England's top run scorer at a strike rate of 163. He looked every bit an international class player over this series. I think he's there.
It's tricky again because then you're doing the thing that like a lot of teams get trapped into, where you pick your 11 best cricketers, but you don't necessarily give them clear role definition. I don't know. I mean, like, so there's an argument for Stokes. Well, Stokes and Butler, I think, would be a little bit too Rizwan Babar Azam at stages for my liking. I think that England don't need an extra seam bowler, particularly if they're going to pick Curran at number 7. And I think for that reason, the best team probably doesn't have Stokes in it. Would I mind if Stokes played? No. Stokes is like the narrative king of cricket, isn't he? Like all of the good stuff that happens in cricket, Ben Stokes is involved. Have you seen the film yet? The Sam Mendes film?
I have, yeah.
I mean, like, just watch that, and it is like all of the memories from cricket recently got like some Ben Stokes through line.
Yeah,
there's a bit of an England bias to that. But like, would it be? I wouldn't be sad if Stokes played, but I think Salt might be the choice. What do you think?
I think they're going to want to get him in the team. I don't think he gets put in the squad. Yeah, I don't think they gets put in the squad if he's not going to be in the 11. I think it's one of those things where they're just like, look, you've already retired from ODI cricket, so he's a clutch player. We got asked on our Discord channel whether we could have an episode dedicated to whether clutch exists or not. But he is a clutch player. I think that's okay. I think England's bowling looked much better with Wokes in as well. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how we line up on that front. I think
that was my final note really on the series. We talked about Pakistan a lot on other shows, so they're getting a little bit less talk time, I suppose. And to be fair,
Shadab Khan being back in the team makes it a much better team. But
if you don't try and win, I've not got that much respect for what you're doing. And they literally didn't try and win.
Did you hear the commentators today? The Pakistani commentators, the ex-pros, they are not the best in the business. It's fair to say.
I quite enjoyed them. I'll say, but carry on.
But there was a bit where one of them turned around and was just like, what they need to do is set themselves their own target in their head. Don't set it as the match-winning total. Set it for 160 or something and get it to your own. I was like, that's not how cricket works. You can't go for the proper total.
Well, yeah. Actually, if you always play for the total in your head, you could, in theory, win every game, couldn't you?
But it depends if you're going, I'm going to aim for 80. You're chasing 200.
Well, why aim for 80 when you can aim for 5? Is what I would say. Like, just get your 5 runs.
Anyway, England's bowling. Sorry,
England's bowling. They started the series, and this was a big question. I think people were rightly saying that England's bowling might be sort of 7th, 8th best in T20 cricket across the world. I mean, like letting Pakistan get 203 for none. In that second match, that can happen. It's Babar Azam and Rizwan, that can happen, but it felt very toothless. If you throw Mark Wood, Chris Wokes, Topley into the mix, though, suddenly I think they get much closer to the top 3 or 4. I don't know if they're in the top 3 or 4. I think death bowling's still a huge problem for him. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Do you know who's going to do it? Topley, you'd assume, might bowl an over, but he's not great. Jordan, they might bring back in, do you think? To do it?
We've talked about this
Wokes
before.
Has got a knuckleball now. Does that help his cause? Maybe. Or do England just ignore that and hope for the best?
I don't know. What we do know is it's not going to be Adil Rashid closing out as that experiment failed against Australia.
Sure.
But I think...
Well, and Adil Rashid. Then you've got 4 bowlers, plus you've got Moeen and Livy for flexibility, plus you might also have Stokes. Death bowling, still, there's 4 overs where even if you're generous to Topley and say that Topley can be average for 2 of those, there's still 12 balls at the death where if you haven't taken wickets, England are going to be really vulnerable. And I don't know what the solution to that is, but it does look like they might actually take some wickets earlier now, which is a big improvement 7 matches ago.
Yeah, and what I also like to think, from this whole expedition to Pakistan, we've actually come away from it actually with some people with match fitness. There's some people with some confidence in that team, and they're hitting form at the right point as well. So I think Matthew Mott and Josh Butler have done a good job, and Moeen Ali as the stand-in skipper also done a pretty good job. And that 4-3 series win is not to be sniffed at, I don't think.
Right, we're going to go on and talk about India now, Ross. But before we do, can you tell everyone about your testicles?
Yeah, they are smooth because of Manscaped. I think that's what I normally have to say. If you want one of their wonderful razors, then use our code, which is on screen now, but is go to their website at manscaped.com for 20% off using the code CricketPod. And yeah, enjoy your beautiful, smooth testicles.
I quite like that. That could become like a catchphrase of yours.
What
Is that what you say?
smooth testicles?
Do you use this in other conversations when
Oh,
you're
yeah,
talking about your testicles, like as you do?
yeah, I'm a big testicle talker. That's
Yeah.
that's what
Well, it's
we
important to
well
talk
know.
about your balls.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need. Maybe we need catchphrases. Maybe that's what the podcast is missing. We asked for some ideas and feedback on our Discord. They said you should bring back some of the kind of well-known segments on the show,
What
and then
well-known segments?
or we should create well-known segments,
Yeah,
should I
that's true.
say?
Yeah.
And then yeah, catchphrases might be the next thing. We should go full kind of American sitcom on this.
We could do that. It's definitely
Yeah.
something to ponder. We also got a tweet from somebody. Should have saved this. Who said that the problem with our show, like basically, was like what you do is really good, but because you don't always say nice things about Virat Kohli, you're never going to grow as much as you should. So what we should do is just say loads of nice things about Virat Kohli. And that segues quite nicely into today's game between India and South Africa. India batting first got a hell of a lot of runs, and Virat Kohli did get 49 of those runs and did look pretty good, Ross. Do you want to explain what happened in the cricket match pretty quickly?
Yeah, I mean, KL Rahul is just toying with everyone. Sometimes it's just his world and we are living in it. And then Rohit Sharma kind of went back. He regressed. He'd been showing himself to be.
We can't all be good at once.
Yeah, true. But he'd been showing serious intent, a big change the way he was playing T20 cricket. He reverted back to type. And unfortunately, he was the one who was the slow coach in this team. Virat Kohli came in, who looks like he's coming back to his best, which is lovely to see. Sky, however, is head and shoulders above is head and shoulders, I think, above every middle order batter in world cricket right now in T20s. And he was cruelly run out by Virat. Yeah, they had obviously DK, who in his prime finishing position, give the guy 5 balls, give the guy between 5 and 10 balls, and he's going to get you plenty of runs. South Africa then got off to the worst possible start imaginable, as Temba Bavuma thought he was playing Test cricket. He got out for a 7-ball duck.
It wasn't very good Test cricket then, was it?
Those 7 dot balls were like crucial ultimately because Killer Miller was back in town. And the guy's renaissance, and I know he's been okay at T20 international cricket, but being back on the international stage as well as the franchise stage for Miller has been a decent year, other than for Welsh Fire, but no one had a good time for Welsh Fire. He hit a blistering century, Quinton de Kock in support, and they just finished a little bit short. They needed, I think it was 37 off the last 6. If that was 37 off the last 12 with Bavuma getting out first ball, they got a really good chance of winning that. So, yeah, it happened. Big question marks remain over India's bowling lineup, and I'm sure we'll get into that now.
Right. So first things first, I'm not sure we can lay the blame at Bavuma's feet on this one. I feel like when the bowling unit lets the other team score 237 runs, yeah, it was an okay track, but like, you know, there were spells where they just weren't bouncing the ball. Just bowling full tosses. I feel like if the bowling unit surrenders 237 runs, the batters get a pass on that. Like, it's not ideal. I understand that. Yeah, in the chase to get no runs off the first over and then be out very next ball. I'd say that was sub-optimal batting as well. But like, that's a strike rate of 200 that South Africa need to go at for their whole 20 overs. Nobody wins that match. Like, nobody ever wins that match. It was India had won that match at halftime. I think it was fun from Dawid Malan, and it was fun from Quinton de Kock when he finally got going to sort of light it up and make it a little bit entertaining. But India probably bowled as bad as they possibly could bowl, and have still won this match very comfortably. And in my opinion, that has to be at the feet of the South African bowlers, not not Temba Bavuma. The question, I think we got asked this on Twitter. We'll get to that in a bit. The question of whether Temba Bavuma should be the opening batter. It's different to was it his fault that they lost, and I think you can have a debate on that one. But yeah, which Indian batter would you like to talk about? Because they were all quite good.
Well, let's start with our favourite, KL Rahul.
KL Rahul. It was a good innings.
Really, really good innings, and this is why it is so frustrating, because this guy has got the talent. He just doesn't seem to have it upstairs. This is almost like a perfect opening innings. This is what he should be doing. This is what he's capable of doing, and it must be so frustrating for the Indian fans to be sitting there going, "Why can't you try to do this all the time?" And we know you're going to fail, and that's okay if you're going to fail, because we've also got Rohit, Virat, Sky, DK, Akshar, whoever else. And it's that selflessness in a batting lineup that goes this deep and it has the talent that India does that makes KL Rahul so frustrating. But yeah, striking at 203, the guy looked absolutely fantastic today.
Virat Kohli, you can talk about him next.
Yeah, he's looking tidy. He is looking tidy. I think on the last show I was on, talked about him going back to playing his conventional cricket shots, and I think it's again came out today watching the game, and yeah, he's back. Kohli is back.
Kohli's back.
I don't think he's going to get to previous God level Kohli, but Kohli is back to a position where he deserves a place in this team, which for the last 2 years or so has been a big question mark on whether he does or not.
Right now, Sanju Samson or Virat Kohli?
Sanju Samson.
Okay.
So without a shadow of a doubt for me.
Okay.
But that's because I'm not an India fan, and I'm a big Sanju Samson buyer. I like selfless short format players, and when you've got Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, there's no space for another anchor.
Okay.
If
next
KL
question
Rahul's
then,
be like that.
Virat or KL?
I'm picking KL. No, I'm not. I'm picking Virat over KL Rahul.
That's a tougher one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Purely in the fact that
I'm starting to come round. I think I said after the Afghanistan innings that getting a ton against a demoralised Afghanistan team who went out of the tournament. What were they bombed the night before by Naseem Shah? I felt like the circumstances of that meant that there was reasonable doubt about whether he was back or whether he just came up against the right team on the right day. I think since then he's talked the talk against the Aussies and he's done it against South Africa. I think he's building a bit more of a body of work that suggests that Virat Kohli might have moved his game on in some way in this format and might actually be a little bit more of a threat, or might actually be a threat again, because I think for quite a long time he's been not a threat at all. Atrocious for quite a long time actually. But there's definitely reasons to be optimistic if you're a big Virat stan. I do wonder a little bit what's going on with the South Africa bowling lineup.
Why is Wayne Parnell playing? Any idea?
I'm not really sure about that. Where's Shamsi? I mean, presumably there's an injury here and we just haven't heard about it, or he's having a rest.
I think it's actually the South African tactic at the moment. They've Maharaj is kind of obviously left arm, bowls more darts, feel that his matchups is better, and they don't think they can put two spinners into this side because they think that Markram's kind of they're kind of second at the moment when they don't play two spinners, right? Here, why they're not
last one?
But why are they not playing an attacking wrist spinner? This is what I don't understand. I feel like in T20 cricket, Shamsi is a real asset to your team.
I don't know. Maybe they think India have got a lot of right-handers. It's not worth it.
But yeah. I mean, Virat will struggle against Shamsi. Tell you that for free.
So that was odd. Can we talk about? We've done that. We've done DK. He was quite good. Let's talk about Suryakumar Yadav. Ross, I am going to say to you that he might be playing the best this year that anyone ever has in T20 international cricket.
That's a huge statement. That is a huge statement. But you have the stats to back up, right? I think he's the quickest batsman to 1,000 T20 international runs. I think he's gone past 56s in a calendar year in T20 internationals. I think he's the first player to do that. So I mean, the guy is seeing it like a beach ball at the moment. And
Got some more stats.
oh yes, please.
So I've got the list of most runs in the calendar year. He ever in T20I history, and obviously this varies a little bit because teams play fewer or more. Last year, Rizwan got 1,326 and Babar Azam got 939. So in terms of raw run VAT numbers, they are ahead of him. Rizwan did it at 73, which is a pretty good average as well. Albeit he's played 4 more innings than Sky has at this point. Sky's currently on 793, so that's the third most ever in a calendar year. Average is 41, strike rate of 185. Now, I think it's a strike rate of 185, which is kind of best.
Petrifying.
Yeah.
He's petrifying.
Because if you have a look at the list of other people, most runs in a calendar year, you are genuinely here, you're looking at a bunch of people who are scoring 45 runs fewer per 100 balls.
And are they typically opening batsmen? Are they all top 3?
Well, do you want to go through it? We'll go Rizwan,
AB de Villiers probably on that list.
Rizwan, Babar, Paul Sterling, Kevin O'Brien.
Opener.
There's a few.
Opener.
Max O'Dowd from the Netherlands.
Shikhar
Darwan had a good year in 2018.
Yeah, another opener. Another opener.
Kohli in 2016, batting 3. Cooper from the Netherlands. B. Cooper. What's his Brendan Cooper? I don't know. Cooper.
We're going to go for it. Bradley.
Yeah. Then there's someone from Nepal. Rizwan again, another opener. We can list some more names. Anyway, I went through this list to see whether anybody had a strike rate comparable. And about, I reckon, 50th, there's a player from Romania. Papua New Guinea. Last year, 446 runs at a strike rate of 202. So it's not too bad, I'm saying. Like, I reckon the quality of player that the guy from Papua New Guinea playing probably doesn't match up to the
probably about the standard of Wayne Parnell.
It is ludicrous. It's absolutely preposterous. I mean, like, if you just look against like baseline T20 stats, he bats for longer than most people, averages a dismissal every 23 balls. The average in T20 cricket is 18, and he strikes at 50 more than the T20 average of 135. Like, it's crazy, and he looks fucking sexy as well. This is.
He's an aesthetically pleasing batsman, isn't he?
Yeah, fucking sexy is another way of saying aesthetically pleasing. I think it's. Like, I don't know where you get off. Aesthetically pleasing. That's not how you talk.
Is it not? Is it not?
No.
So are we saying that Sky is fucking sexy?
I think
goat.
I think we can say Sky is fucking sexy and probably having the goat year in T20 eyes. I can't see an argument for anyone else.
Well, he should beat it this year, right? He's got the World Cup ahead of him. He's got another game against South Africa as well. So he's been great. And what is also nice is seeing that someone who has carried like the Mumbai Indians team, kind of like, and been an ever-present thorn in the side, and someone who's been relatively somewhat mismanaged. Sometimes it's fair to say.
Yeah, he's only played 30 T20 Is.
Yeah, like pushed up and down the order, kind of sometimes not really sure in his role, and you're a bit like, this guy doesn't care. He just comes out and be like, I'm just going to show everyone how good I am.
Yeah. The flip side from India is that their bowling's rubbish now. They 3 months ago they had the best power play bowler in the world, Bhuvi. They had the best death bowler in the world, Bumrah. They had the best leg spinner in the world, Chahal. And now their best bowler is Deepak Chahar. Like, what's happened? No, I'm not knocking Deepak Chahar too much here, but it's a substantial shift, paradigm shift that we have seen here. I think, Ross, can you explain? Give me your best theory.
Well, obviously they play an awful lot of cricket. I think it's probably fair to say, and it is taking their toll. And when it comes to pace bowling, we know that Bhuvi is made out of glass, and yeah, unfortunately for him, he carries niggles everywhere he goes. And Bumrah, I think he's got a stress fracture in his back.
That's what they said, yeah. And then Ganguly was like, Dada was like, no, we can't actually rule out Bumrah from the World Cup. But look, I will caveat this with I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure if you break your back, you don't then bowl at a World Cup 2 weeks later.
No, yeah, it's just
Seems
not one of those
unlikely.
typically. It does seem unlikely. Otherwise, England could have just picked all their good bowlers
Yeah,
this year, couldn't they?
that is true. If it is a less concerning, if a broken back isn't as bad as we thought it was, then serious questions do have to be asked at the people managing the. Carry on. What were you saying?
Well, and when it comes to some of the others, it happens. Right? I think Chahal was being rested for this game, and that's okay. And they've still got players around it. I think it's just quite easy to be an India fan and press the panic button sometimes where things don't quite go your way. But Arshdeep has had a mixed bag since taking the step up to international cricket. I still rate Arshdeep. He's just been on the receiving end of some pretty brutal hitting. And today, David Miller took a bit of a liking to him, didn't he?
Yeah, 62 for 2. I think Arshdeep has by and large made the transition pretty well. I think got to remember as well he's 23, have a bad game, but he's got a bowling average of 19 and an economy of about 8 in international cricket. Arguably, he's a bit better than that. Arguably, you could have a sub-8 economy. The bowling average, I don't think is a problem. Arguably, he could be a better defensive bowler. I think today David Miller was just on one. Like that happens in cricket. It happens a lot in T20 that somebody is on one. So that might explain it. What do you think India will do without Bumrah?
What are their options? There's one, try to replace Bumrah, which is very difficult as he's bowls 1 in the power play and then 3 at the death.
Something like that, yeah.
Kind of what he does.
They're not going to be able to do that.
They're not going to be able to do that, no, unless they just completely try and repurpose Harshal Patel and Arshdeep's roles. But then you got 2 slots in that space. Quite difficult to do that. There is another option of them trying to back their batting ability and just kind of try and do what England do, and kind of back. We've got so many good hitters in this team. Let's try to do that. The issue with that is that I don't think their top order suits that approach. I think they are better off trying to build a team around almost like the not quite Rajasthan Royals approach, but kind of just go. We need to get our best bowling unit that can go and get there, but probably go down to bat to number 7 instead of batting to 6 or 5 in most cases for Rajasthan Royals. But it's a difficult one. It's a very difficult one.
I think the problem is made a little bit harder for them by Harshal Patel not bowling that well. Although 4 overs for 45 in this match, probably not a bad return. If you look at the overall scoring rates, it's not awful. If I were them, I would probably go Bhuvi, Arshdeep, Harshal, Chahal as my 4 bowlers. I don't think there's really any reason to panic. I still think most of those guys are pretty good. Bumrah is an upgrade on one of them, but I don't. India would never a one-trick pony or a one-man team.
And you got Hardik, right? Hardik is coming in this season, bowling 88 miles an hour, and actually, like the guy is superhuman. So if there's a person to replace him, maybe Hardik is the guy who bowls those overs for them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be stunned if they played Ashwin instead of Chahal as well. They seem to really like Ashwin, which is understandable. He's pretty good. And with Akshar Patel, if Akshar Patel's going to bowl more overs, then having people who can spin the ball in different directions is good. But it's also
they both can bat a bit as well.
Yeah, and there's definitely a batting plus to Ashwin over Chahal. But if I were them, I would pick the more attacking player, and I'd pick Chahal. And in T20 cricket, sometimes your bowlers get hit, is what I would say, and they got hit a bit today, but they had the runs on the board. So I don't know. I think you just sort of say that shit happens. In the last match, they had South Africa 9 for 5. So it's not that bad, is it?
There is that reactionary bit to it, Mo. Like every T20 that goes past, people just do not appreciate the high variance of it. We talk about it, I think, on every single show. Just have a little bit of caution, but you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater all the time. Big question for me, that will come my final one that I've got here, Jack, on the India front, is Rishabh Pant.
Is that just a question?
Does he get into your best 11 for India? For me, he's not in it.
Probably not. I think we've sort of talked about this before in on some other shows. The thing is, he does bat left-handed, and they might think that they need that balance, and they could probably fit him in because Akshar's developed a little bit of pop to his game, and you can slide Hardik down a place, and Hardik can do the finishing role. I don't think he's in their best batting. I don't think he's one of their best 7 batting options, say, but the left-hander factor, I do think, might play a role in their decision making, and they might be right to consider that.
I think so.
Way back earlier in the show, we talked about how England could get tricked, not tricked, but could end up picking a team that fits in their best 7 batters, but doesn't actually put them in roles that necessarily make sense for those 7 batters. I think India could pick a batting lineup which didn't include Pant, which in the over enough games would actually prove to be worse than the one with Pant in, even though Pant would be replacing a better player.
Yeah, I get you.
That's T20 cricket.
We're picking for the greater good.
Yeah, I think you can make that argument. I think you could drop him and they'd be quite good as well. I think there's enough of them are pretty decent. What he does do is make it a little bit harder maybe to find space to bowl left arm spin and leg spin, which is a problem for Kohli, is a problem for Rohit, is a bit of a problem for King Legend as well. And isn't actually Suryakumar Yadav's strong suit either. So he's a bit of a spin shield, to use the parlance of the game. And they might see value in that. Should we do the Twitter questions and then wrap up the show?
That sounds great, yeah.
Okay, so Samir says, did Bavuma cost South Africa the game? Now, I said no to this. What do you think?
No, as much as it's nice to try and find a scapegoat, as you say, when your team concedes 237 runs, there's got to be question marks around what's going on. And that, unfortunately, was Rabada and Parnell going around and Norkia. And unfortunately, sometimes bowlers have bad days and they come up against incredible batsmen.
Jagan says, after all these series, any predictions on top run scorer and wicket taker at the World Cup?
Oh, that is a good question. I think
he suggests King Legend.
All right, can we have another bet? If that's what we need. We need a bet on that one. So suggest your terms for the bet if you think it's going to be King Legend, and I'll see what I can do. I don't think it'll be any of the players from the 4 teams that we've seen. I think on Australia's home soil it's going to be one of the Australians, unfortunately.
I can see Rizwan being top run scorer because they'll just let him bat for as long as he wants. There's no pressure on him to do anything. Is Hales in the squad if Johnny Bairstow returns? Asked Peter Holt. I think this is hypothetical because a bit like backs, when you break your leg, you tend to be out for a while. Maybe we can get Dr. Ganguly in to sort him out.
That's too good. Hales does not get in the squad, I don't think, if Johnny Bairstow's around, and that was proven with the selection earlier this summer.
I think that's probably fair. Is Suryakumar Yadav, this is from Ag, the best T20 batsman in the world? I think the answer is yes to that, probably. There's a couple of wild cards if you want to look at it from a more analytical point of view. Tim David might be. He's been pretty good. Dre Russ on his day is still
devastating.
Yeah, he's just probably having fewer days. He was good at the IPL though. But I think in international cricket, certainly what Suryakumar Yadav's doing is nuts. It's like Dre Russ, but with the runs, with the consistency. It's insane. This is the other thing we haven't talked about this before, Chintad, and I'm glad we got a reminder of this. Who's the biggest, sneakiest, deadliest snake in cricket? And this is after there was an actual snake on the pitch. Did you see this?
It
came out of the hole and chased Wayne Parnell around.
Yeah, much like the Indian batsman, the snake also saw him as lunch. The biggest snake in cricket is obviously Salman Butt. There's not even a shadow of a doubt for that one.
Okay. I think that's a fair answer. And I think we can probably, that's everything from the bit. I think that probably brings us to a close. We've got one super chat in from Jitta Rangachari, who says Siraj must play. Siraj is the other option, isn't it? Chahar makes no sense in Oz. And I think, do they call Siraj up to the reserve squad or something like that this week, or up for the ODIs, something like that? I saw a meme of Siraj on a motorbike, and I thought, this is going to end badly. Maybe Siraj plays, I don't know. I think India don't have to pick. I think you stick with the people who have proven to be quite good in the roles that they're quite good in. Bumrah being out is a shame. It's a shame for the tournament. It's a shame for cricket. It's a bigger shame for India, their chances of winning. But as nations go, India are unique in that they can find players will get near to his level sometimes. If Bumrah played for England and was out, and it was like, oh well, now we're going to have to play Coco the Clown.
It's kind of what's happened. Like Jofra Archer is our Bumrah.
Yeah.
And you've seen the hole that blows into the England team. So yeah, it would be interesting if one of the other young players like Umran Malik gets called up or something like that. Where if they're just like, you know what, we might just need pace. And actually, in Australia, Umran Malik could well be a handful.
Maybe. Right, final question, Ross. We actually got one in from the chat. Like and subscribe and everything like that, and we'll end the show here. So make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Buy a ball trimmer from Manscaped.com using the code CricketPod. Join our Patreon. This is all in the show notes. Patreon.com/thecricketpod to get exclusive stuff. We think we might get some free stuff to give away to Patreons. We're not allowed to give it away. We're not allowed to do a raffle. We have to do a competition, like a quiz. So we might do a Patreon quiz.
We are good at quizzes.
We are good at quizzes. Yeah. So get involved there. It's pretty cheap. Last question, Ross, before we go, and this comes from Niche.
Yeah.
What was your take on the Stokes-Bogle Twitter exchange? Bogle. Who's Bogle? Harsha Bogle.
I think Bogle's better.
Bogle.
I thought it was quite amusing. If I'm perfect, it felt like Harshal had sat and had a couple of royal challengers, and it was just like, do you know what? I'm going to make a big point here, and I'm just going to throw in a load of shit as well at the same time, which is great. And then I don't really understand why Stokes got involved. There wasn't anyone who needed to stand up and
it's not the first time.
Start bringing into question kind of British imperialism and colonization or whatever else. And it was just like that is the one that you just let go through to the keeper, unfortunately. And it didn't pan out that way.
I want to know what Stokes has got to say about geopolitics.
Well, he's England captain now. But he's got to have some kind of opinion. I mean, Michael Vaughan's been given one for enough time, so maybe he feels there's a void now.
I thought it was pretty nuts. I can't believe people are still talking about it a week later. Yeah. And people having to like come down on a side. He was out. It was out.
It's a dismissal. Like, I'm all here for it. I think we are a very pro Mankad will run out.
Yeah. Mankad. What do you think? What do you think about all the people suggesting crazy rule changes?
It's idiocy. Absolute idiocy. Like you just stop trying to make more rules for cricket. One definitely doesn't need them. It's already the least accessible sport there is to man. And the next bit, like, why would you take away that jeopardy and controversy? Like, look what's happened with VAR coming into the Premier League in England. Like, it's appalling the way it's set up, and it takes away the jeopardy. It takes away the consequence, and you need that controversy to make the sport interesting. Cricket is being talked about like all over the place because of the Mankad. It's fucking brilliant.
It is. It is the best marketing the sport's had for a while.
Yeah,
I think
so. More Mankads, more controversy. That's what we want.
Cool. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you're watching live, thank you for listening. If you haven't been live but you did join us, you know what I mean.